history repeats itself, eh? You know, I should be happy because my bracket is more correct than it would have been if Toronto went out there and defeated Tampa in Game 7, because I did say that Tampa would defeat Toronto in 6 in my bracket. I was kind of incorrect there. But man, this sucks. Like, I'm not even a Toronto fan. I'm a Canucks guy. Raised here on the West Coast, loving the Canucks. I know the rivalry exists. I know Vancouver people hate Toronto media because of how they overcover the Leafs and everything. I get the storylines and I get the hatred, but man, this sucks. It does suck, doesn't it? Like, I get it. There are some people out there, especially people in my town, that are like, yeah, it's amazing that Toronto lost because now we can see the tears of Leafs fans and eat them for breakfast in our cereal or something like that. I don't know what it is, but still, I felt like Toronto played the better game. I do. I felt like Toronto and the quantity and the quality of their opportunities, they went out there and had the Tampa Bay Lightning on their heels towards the end of that game, and I get it. Tampa, you have to give credit to Tampa Bay for playing such a good, tight defensive system, especially without Brayden Point. You have to give credit to Nick Paul for stepping up and doing what it is that he was able to do. You got goals from no Kucherov, no Stamkos, no Hedman, no Point. Point was out. It's Nick Paul, for crying out loud. Ottawa Senators Nick Paul that goes out there and wins the game for Tampa Bay almost single-handedly. And the rest of this game writes itself in the history books. Toronto, you were what, 0-10 in your last 10 elimination games in the postseason? You lost a few to Montreal, you lost some to Columbus, and then Boston, and then Washington. This is just another 2 added to that because you had Game 6 when they were up 3-2 and they lost in overtime, and Game 7 where you could honestly debate they deserved a better fate, but they didn't get it. Toronto is out in the first round once again. They haven't made the second round since I was in preschool. I was 3, turning 4 in 2004 in the playoffs that year. I wasn't even in preschool. I was going to preschool. So, for me, I really don't have that much of a knowledge of Toronto history and what they've accomplished in the postseason and everything. So, heading into this Game 7 and watching the first few shifts, watching the first period, I even made a tweet saying that even though my life is short, you know, I'm only 21, turning 22 years old, this is the most confident I have felt about a Maple Leafs team in a Game 7 my entire life. Because those games against Boston, those games against Montreal, yeah, I wasn't really feeling it for Toronto. I was kind of like, yeah, okay, Toronto's going to choke. Like, they're going to do it again. You could just kind of feel it. And this one, man, just the way they got off to the start, you had the referees not calling penalties. I was like, okay, they're going to let the boys play. That's cool. I'm okay with that. It's Game 7 for crying out loud. And you see the teams go at it, and you see the chances traded back and forth. Campbell's making saves. Vasilevsky's making saves. Things are looking great. It's a fun, entertaining hockey game. But ultimately, you get yourselves a few mismatches here and there that result in goals, and ultimately, there are some refereeing shenanigans that go on that make things a lot more difficult to stomach. It's Nick Paul who gets the first goal of the game with 2 minutes to go in the first period. It's an odd man rush for Toronto that does not end its way in the back of the net. It deflects out to the side where Nick Paul picks it up and starts out the rush. He passes it to Colton. Colton the one-time blast, and Paul is right there for the rebound. It's 1-0 towards the end of the first, and I think the Leafs got a power play too. Like, at this period in the game with a few minutes to go, I was kind of saying to myself, okay, Toronto needs to get a power play goal. That's the best thing you could get. A power play goal, end off the period, 1-1. There's momentum on your side. They don't get it done. The Toronto power play in this game, by the way, 0-3. Tampa Bay, to their credit, did not have a good record either, 0-2 on their man advantages. But ultimately, it's Toronto who bounces back, and they do it twice. They get themselves pressure in the offensive zone. It's John Tavares eventually who takes it down low, who shimmy-shammies his way to the front of the net. He shoots it, and he scores it. But then the goal is called off because earlier on, Justin Hall picked off the guy in the zone as Tavares was cutting across. That was a perfect basketball play. Like, if you were a basketball player and you watch that go down, you're like, ooh, what a nasty little block right there by Justin Hall. Super effective. It worked out very well because it freed up so much space for Tavares, but Unfortunately, you can't do that in hockey. Now, I know Steve Dangle was going out there and saying like crazy, why are you calling that? It's Game 7. There have been much worse things in this game alone that had gone uncalled. Why is this one the one that's getting called? And I get it. You could go out there and say that this is certainly a play that the Maple Leafs sort of got robbed by faith on. But still, the referee's whistles were blowing before Tavares even shot the puck. It was just kind of tough to hear because the building was buzzing because Tavares was doing the thing and it was making everybody excited. Eventually, though, Toronto gets it back, and they fight for it. They go short-handed from this Justin Hall thing, they kill it off, and eventually it's Marner to Matthews in front for Morgan Rielly, who absolutely snipes one top cheddar where mom keeps the cookies. A beautiful shot on a beautiful toe drag and delay by Mo from West Vancouver. He gets one upstairs on Andrei Vasilevsky. It is tied 1-1. The building is buzzing. Maple Leaf Square is buzzing. I'm buzzing in my living room because I'm like, holy crap, this is a fun hockey game to watch. And then Nick Paul does it again. About 3 minutes after Morgan Rielly got the tying goal, it's Nick Paul who steals the puck, comes right in, and he shoots it 5-hole on Jack Campbell. It's an absolutely beautiful play by the former Ottawa Senator who forces his way in front and who pretty much just makes something out of nothing here. Tampa goes up 2-1, and Nick Paul is ultimately the guy who catalyzes everything over here. So it's really nice to see a good story for him, of course, getting, what is this, his 4th multi-goal game in NHL history, and it happens to be in Game 7 of the postseason. He's the first player to score 2 goals in a Game 7 since Ruslan Fedotenko in 2004, in the Stanley Cup Finals against Calgary for Tampa Bay again, for crying out loud. Like, you remember the call, right, Gary Thorne? Fedotenko! Like, that's an amazing, legendary call. That was the last time we saw somebody get 2 goals in a Game 7. Nick Paul does it here today, out of all the people to go out there and do this. Toronto then, in the 3rd period, looked like the better team. And I personally don't have any metrics, I don't track stuff, I'm not really a smart guy when it comes to trying to accurately depict what goes on in these games, but based off of my eye test, I really did feel like Toronto was the more dangerous team in that 3rd period. In fact, I'm going over on moneypuck.com right now. Toronto had a 69% chance to win this game on the deserved to win-o-meter based off of 1,000 simulations on the expected goals. Yes, okay, there you go. My eye test is correct. The 3rd period is where Toronto started to go off, and they had so many more scoring opportunities than Tampa did. Tampa just decided to lock it down and say, okay, screw this. We don't need another goal. If we get an odd man rush, we'll try to take advantage, but we don't need it. What we need to do is lay back and keep these Leafs to the outside, because if we do that, we take away their passes into the middle, we take away their opportunities from the slot, we force them to the boards and in the corners and on the points. They're not going to be able to do anything. And if they shoot it, hey, we'll just block it. They did that, and they did it perfectly. Because Toronto did not get on the board, unfortunately speaking. And I say unfortunately, I'm a Canucks fan. What emotional investment do I have here? I technically am supposed to have none. I even picked Tampa Bay for my bracket, but it just feels kind of sad. Like, I don't know, maybe that's the empath in me, feeling things for the Maple Leafs fan base that I could absolutely not try to say that I sympathize with or that I feel the same with, because my franchise has not lost every single first-round series they've been a part of in almost 20 years. And it sucks even more because this Toronto team, I feel, has played the best out of all the Game 7 Toronto teams we have seen over the past decade and a bit. Against Montreal, this was a much better team than against Montreal. This team played a lot better than the Game 7 Leafs from last year against Montreal. They got a goal from Nylander at the end of the game, and it wasn't even a big deal. Like, it was like, okay, they already lost. Thanks, Nylander, for getting yourselves on the board. Couldn't have done that earlier, eh? But this one felt a lot more tight. And I feel like Toronto deserves such a better fate, but gosh darn it, the Tampa Bay Lightning are just the Tampa Bay freaking Lightning. And I said that heading into this series, you know. I said that in the playoff review, that Tampa is just that team. When their backs are to the wall, when they're in a predicament, as I said, it's like Jake coming out of nowhere to save Mark and Steven without a trace. He just comes, he does what he needs to do, and he goes. That's what Tampa Bay is like. We've seen this over the past 2 years. Ever since they got swept by Columbus, they have just been lights out, and they haven't lost 2 games in a row in the postseason because of it. Tampa Bay, my goodness, good job to you guys for having another Battle of Florida in the second round this time rather than the first. Florida honestly struggled quite a bit with Alex Ovechkin and the Caps, so I do think that Tampa has a good chance of winning. I did say that they were going to go to the finals in my bracket, so there you go, fingers crossed. For Toronto, though, it sucks to see because you could definitely say, okay, Marner, Matthews, where were you guys? Where was Nylander? Where was Tavares? Because, like, at the end of the day, Marner and Matthews, they had assists on the Rielly goal. Rielly scored probably the most important goal of his career, and it wasn't enough. John Tavares scored a very beautiful goal, too, and it didn't even count. Like, the stars came to play here. It's just everything else fell apart, and I don't know what else to say that I feel could actually add value to this commentary, so I guess I'll just leave you with that. Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about the Toronto Maple Leafs losing Game 7 yet again. It's 0-10 in the Marner and Matthews era, 0-11 if you include the 2013 loss against Boston in series-clinching games. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.